So, this is Jim Hartley, TBTH Vegas, and we're back for Blackjack and the Big Lie Part 2. This is going to be Tales from the Pit. It's going to be stories about different things that happened and why they happened, etc., and how for it not to happen to you. Okay? So, we're going to be talking about 5 instances. We're going to be talking about June of 96, the party at the Klondike, the free ride rule. August 97, the Boardwalk Casino and an early surrender rule they instituted. June of 98, Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas had a 2-to-1 blackjack promo, followed in March of 99 by Sunset Station. In June of 99 as well, you had Binion's Horseshoe with a 5-card unbusted hand is an automatic winner, which again, not a good plan. So we're going to run through each one of these in turn and talk about why these are again, these are things people remember, but what are they remembering them for and what did they learn from them? That's most important. Okay, what did they actually learn from it? And we're going to find that over time, most of the time people don't learn much from it. And that's true in life in general. Okay, now take my last video. When you look at that part 1 of this, there's 2 things that really come to mind when someone hears information like that. The cognitive dissonance, of course, as I said, but you've also got the sunk cost fallacy, okay? So all these people have put all this time and effort and their own, prestige on the line, if you will, saying, oh yeah, we've got to, we got to keep using these shufflers and these bad rules and this 6-to-5 game because this is the way to go. This will make money someday. But it's not true. You're just chasing after something that's not going to come to it. Sunk cost fallacy, right? Could have got rid of all that stuff 20 years ago. Wouldn't have made any difference. I already showed that. The numbers are the same. Now, also with that is the persistence of belief, okay? So no matter what I say here, understand, I know quite well that most people are going to deny it. They're going to come up with some reason, just like I said through cognitive dissonance. The human brain plays serious tricks on us. And that's what I'm going to talk about a great deal here, and how those things get utilized against us as well, and how we can kind of work around them. And that's what policies and procedures really are. They're workarounds to our own inattention and bad thinking. Okay? So, like I said, we're going to do Blackjack and the Big Lie. I did want to also talk about, have you ever argued with anyone on the internet? Right? Yeah, that's great fun, isn't it? All those really smart people on the internet. But when you think about this, also think about the studies that have shown providing facts to people does not change their minds. Again, as I said, I know I'm screaming into the wind here, okay? And there's reasons for it. One, I believe this could be a huge revenue stream for Las Vegas, city and state. And if Vegas goes, the rest of the country will follow. I think this could be a huge amount of money for the casinos. And, there's no reason not to do it. It's almost stupid to continue doing things the way we are. Okay, so enjoy. Here we go. And we're going to talk about Blackjack and the Big Lie, Part 2. Okay, so Blackjack and the Big Lie, and we're talking now about various instances of bad rules and bad thinking causing casinos to lose money. Not the game of blackjack, mind you. Bad ideas put forward by people who didn't know. And there's a word that people always get excited about, ignorant. Means you don't know. And that's what these people are about the game of blackjack. They're ignorant about what happens. Okay, so the first instance we're going to come to is the party at the Klondike. This was a rule called the free ride that somebody at the property had come up with. And they said, hey, how about we do this? Right? They didn't study it. They didn't look at the math. They probably didn't even know there was math involved. And what happened was a study in this stuff. Okay? And one of the things that really went badly about this was at the same time that they had done this, it was like within a very short period, They created this rule. Some locals had played it. There were people playing it, not to any extent. They kind of knew it was good, but nobody was really talking about it. But Stanford Wong, at the time, had his black chip service, which would inform people of great games and opportunities and things like that, as well as all the other web message boards that they were running at the time. And it was a really good site. There was a lot of good information I pulled out of there over the years, both learning stuff and intel-wise. So I love that site. But Wong was in for another thing. It was Casino Players, if you remember that group. And it was a bunch of players gotten together, they're talking, and he finds out about this. And he goes home, he goes back to California, and he starts looking at it and working in it. And he figures out very quickly that, in fact, this is a very good rule for the player, and people should really take advantage of it. And he explained it in his service, and he sends it out on email and fax at the time, right? And people all over the world now know about this, and a lot of them start showing up at the Klondike. Okay, and it's in one day this happened. So the word went out, people went over there immediately because some of them were still in town. From that thing, as well as the people who were always around. There's always people around doing this at the time. So they go to the Klondike, 2 tables, $100 max bet, and pretty soon both tables are full. Both tables are full of people betting the max bet, $100. They've never seen this. They have no idea. They really don't know what's going on. So as this continues, they suddenly notice that, oh my, the racks are empty. We've given out all the chips, right? So they're filling the racks. They're going back and forth. And as this continues, again, they're thinking, oh, it's going to spin around. It'll come back and we'll win, And yeah, maybe if you didn't put that rule on there. So as it goes on, I'm going to read to you. This is directly from the story that was written in Blackjack Forum about this. So I'm going to read directly from the magazine. Okay, as what happened when they finally figured out that, okay, we've been filling all these tables, we're buying our chips back, we're doing all this stuff, and these guys are killing us. This one manager had come in and just shut it down. Said, that's enough. You just got to end this. Okay, and at that point, the players they were worried that there wasn't going to be enough money to get paid. That's how bad this was. They all got paid. They all left. Now, this is the next day. A guy goes over there, and he gets thrown out, right? Because he's talking to somebody he'd seen in there, and one of the guys says, hey, man, get out of here. And he gets irritated. He's like, you offered the rule. I played it. I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you kicking me out? So he's going to complain to gaming, and this is the story. Okay, so I asked this player if I could call him later to find out what transpires in his conversation with the Klondike's casino manager. He gave me his number so that I could contact him, which I did the following day. I called the Klondike, he said, in order to secure the name of the casino manager to whom I would direct my letter, as well as to the gaming board. The operator informed me that the owner acted as casino manager, and would I like to speak to him? I said sure. In our conversation, he explained to me exactly what happened last night. That his management couldn't figure it out, but when he came in the casino around midnight, it only took him 15 minutes to do so. In part because of his experience, as he had been in the business for 33 years. The Klondike was correct in kicking me out the next day, according to him. What occurred, he said, was that everyone playing at the Klondike that night was part of one big team. I guess he made this assumption because everyone was flat betting the table max of $100. Each player at the table had a function on the team, he said. Some people kept a plus minus, some people called plays for others, and the key was the person at third base. The third base person at each table directed the cards to the dealer to keep the dealer in a minus situation. His 33 years of casino experience must have taken some time out of any years of basic math. I could not believe that a casino owner could speak with such ignorance. I assured him that I certainly was not a part of this dream team he put together. If things were that easy, any group of people could sit at any table in any casino and put the dealer in a minus situation. Why go to the Klondike of all places? Why not the MGM Grand where you can bet $10,000 a hand instead of $100? Simply direct the proper minus cards to the dealer. There's no point in trying to reason or be logical with him, so the conversation ended with me again denying his claim that I played for this enormous team with this impossible strategy, and him insisting I was not telling the truth. But regardless of what this player was told when he called the Klondike, the fact exists that as Wong had initially predicted, the casino did remove the free ride option approximately 8 hours after Wong publicized it, along with an easy strategy for beating it. And I tend to doubt we'll ever see the option surface again in any U.S. casino. Goodbye, free ride. You were great fun while you lasted. So that was one of the guys who was actually involved in this. Now, what was the free ride? What did it consist of? So, Peter Griffin wrote really one of the seminal books on blackjack. He did an analysis of this after the fact because he was interested. And so I'm going to read you the abstract, and then we're going to jump to the end. There's a lot of pages of math in between. It's a PDF. It's available online. You can pick it up and get it. Beating the Klondike's free ride, easy to find. So in June of 1996, a small Las Vegas casino, the Klondike, introduced a blackjack innovation called a free ride. A player receiving a blackjack and not already having a token was given a token allowing him to surrender without cost a subsequent 2-card hand before playing it out, a free ride. We determine the optimal strategy for using the token and show that the expectation for the basic strategy player with constant bet size increases from negative 0.55 to 1.4 player advantage. We also discussed several related questions. Within a few weeks, knowledgeable players exploited this edge and the rule was dropped. So there you see, it was very quick and it did not last long and it was tragically flawed. Flat betting, playing basic strategy, had a 1.4 advantage over the house. Unsustainable. And the fact that you wouldn't check this out and you wouldn't understand what you were doing is it's just ridiculous. Now, again, one of the parts of this, understand that the people at the Klondike didn't learn anything from this. They kept this belief. I talked to someone who was there that night. It may have even been that same person with his 33 years of experience. We'll talk about the years of experience sometime. As an aside, I always say, do you have 33 years of experience or 1 year 33 times? Quite often, it's the second. Okay, but when I talked to this guy, I was doing something else, I forget. But I realized that, hey, this person might know about it, so I asked him about it. And he said the exact same thing, that some giant team had descended on them and did this. And they were sold this as well by other people selling them game protection solutions, right? They were sold this same idea because, again, that sells the service. The truth didn't sell the service, which was, man, you shouldn't have put that rule on the game. That was stupid. Right? But you know what? You pissed the guy off that way, right? I'll piss people off saying this stuff, but at least I'm not selling you stupid bullshit, right? That's where you should be angry, when somebody lies to you and sells you the stupid bullshit for 20 years. So now, and how bad was this rule? At the end of that paper, in the conclusion, I'm going to read it again. Analysis of the Klondike's new rule is a good introduction to some of the ideas and methods of blackjack theory. The rule is now history unlikely to return, but it illustrates how ignorance of blackjack theory can be costly for casinos. Yeah. And again, let's go back to the point that we've given up growth and all the profits that would have gone around 20 years of growth in the past 20 years. No growth, no extra money, nothing. Nothing off this. Okay? So, as I said, you never saw this rule again. It was never going to happen. That was done. So that was the party at the Klondike. So this is number 2. This is the early surrender at the Boardwalk. The Boardwalk was before the Monte Carlo, before Parks. It was right on that, right up against the Strip. It was not a large casino, kind of small. And what they did was they wanted to change the rules of their game, and they did. They put in surrender. They put in what's called early surrender rather than late surrender. Early surrender means you can surrender against a dealer ace. Okay, so you could surrender against anything. There's no natural anymore, right? So when I first heard about this, it was funny because I had been at work and I was at the MGM at the time, so they were right across the street, and they had started calling us about different players and asking us, hey, do you know who this guy is? And we were like, what's going on over there? So when I got home, I jumped online, and lo and behold, I find out that this is hit black chip, great games, early surrender, then insure at Boardwalk. Now, this poster is Bryce Carlson, the author of Blackjack for Blood, and that's one of the best blackjack books written. This is actually when I figured out who he is, which I'm going to tell you soon. Very soon. There's two blackjack authors. Nobody really knows who they are. I'm going to give them both to you in short order. All right, but on this one, this is Bryce Carlson at the Boardwalk in 1997. So here's the post. It says, the early surrender game at Boardwalk in Las Vegas is even better than I originally thought, and that they allow both early surrender and insurance. That is, you can early surrender and then take insurance even though you no longer have a hand to play. None of the dealers knew this. I had to tell each of them that it was okay for me to do it. They had never heard of such a thing, but all of the bosses allowed it. It was very cool to early surrender a lost cause hand, then bet the remaining half wager on insurance. Win the insurance bet and end up with a half win against the dealer's blackjack. Sometimes I love Las Vegas. Yep. Anybody getting that deal would, right? This was, again, people who didn't really know what was going on. Somebody probably said, well, we had an early surrender rule in Atlantic City at one time. It worked great. Yes, it did. People even demonstrated in the street to keep that rule because it flips the game to a 0.3 advantage for the player. It's a 0.6 to the player. So if you got a 0.26 game and you add this rule, bam, all of a sudden it's player advantage off the top. Now, at the same time, this is one of the things, those days on the internet were actually great because you could get a lot of, there was a lot of really high-end players that were in there. You could learn a lot. And actually, the response to Bryce Carlson was from Don Schlesinger, author of Blackjack Attack, one of the most important books in blackjack, ever. So he says, anytime someone wants to argue that pit bosses aren't really as stupid as most of us make them out to be, I'll remember to tell them this story. The fact that a player could win money on a hand where the dealer has a natural must be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But you're right. You gotta love it. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Somebody putting this on here, this isn't a mistake. This is stupidity. Or intentional. I mean, if I was investigating it, I'd be looking at the ties the guy had and who his friends were. Seriously, it's not a joke. All right. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about was in June of 98, and it was the Hard Rock Hotel here in Las Vegas. Not the current iteration. This is the original that was there in the 90s. Okay, so what they did was they ran a 2-to-1 promo on blackjacks. This was very interesting. I knew it was going to happen well in advance, and basically just didn't say anything. It wasn't cheating. Nobody was getting cheated. It was an advantage play that was going to go down, and they were the ones that offered it, so I wanted to see what happened. I had actually didn't get to see the Klondike, and as I said earlier, I did get to see part of what happened at the Boardwalk, but I didn't go over there. I should have actually gone over there at the time, but I was seeing the pictures that came out of there, and I saw everything that the local investigators had, which is how I made that ID later on. But so the Hard Rock runs this 2-to-1 promo. The night of, I told a few people, hey, look, I think it was on a Friday night. I said, this next Friday night, I'm going to give you a call, and you're going to want to come hang out for a little while. Make a couple hours. You're going to want to see this. So a couple of my friends, they were like, all right, give me a ring. So this thing goes off, and when I get to the Hard Rock that night, and I look at the pit, I started laughing, and I immediately went over and bought a drink because I wanted to sit and have drinks while I watched this. And it was loaded with pros. It was just loaded. They were everywhere. Damn near every seat on every blackjack table that was having the promo was taken up by professional players. long time, really well-known guys. Stephen Einbinder from Einbinder versus Dalbin, the original hole carding case. He had a whole table locked out to himself. Charles Andrulis from his own named team, the Andrulis group, he was there, and he had a whole group of players. I saw him at one time going around patting guys on the shoulder saying, remember, play basic strategy, flat bet $100, because that's all you had to do to beat this. You didn't have to do anything. There was no strategy. There was nothing except play basic strategy and flat bet. No mystery. It's not arcane knowledge. It was simple. A 2-to-1 is a 2.26 advantage to the player. So if you have a 0.26 six-deck game like they did, you've got a 2% edge to the player off the top. How do you do that? Actually, through the night, I met a longtime friend that night, and because another mutual friend introduced us, and they were asking me, why is this going on? What's happening? And I told them, I said, it's a huge advantage. You've done this. I didn't want to tell them, to be honest. I wanted to watch it happen. And I got to give them credit. They actually they didn't cancel the promo, and they ran it through. They lost a lot of money. They had also done 2-to-1 taxable jackpots, I think it was. I'm not sure exactly, but I think they lost more money on that than they did on Blackjack, and they lost a lot of money on Blackjack. I know that Stuart Alper, longtime player here in town, he had a whole team on the $25 machines. I don't know how long he'd had them, but they were playing as slow as they could right up until the time the promo started at 10 o'clock, and then, man, they were playing as fast as they could, as many coins as they can, jamming them through those machines. And it was the same things on the tables. Everybody jammed in, trying to buy seats. Regular players had no idea what was going on. All right. Oh, so some of the people you actually had at this, as I said, Charles Andrulis, Sri Soprado, his wife. That was, one guy's an unknown. The kid on the second row, there's Wayo Cristianto. That's Andrulis' kid. That's at least the name we had on him at the time. Raymond Mathai, Kathy McKelvin, Gregory Means, James Schuyler. As I said, Steve Einbinder. He had his wife and son with him, I believe. Giles Alarte, Michael Rainier, Harvey Rainier, Peter Coakley, Debbie Rowe, Kenneth McCusick, as I said, Stuart Alper, Paul Bowersox, Joe Caps, and there was a load of the old Core Capital team that was in there playing slots as well, along with Joe Caps. So again, this is one of those instances. These people saw him coming. They knew what was going on, and they pounded him. They beat him really, really badly for no reason. And one of the things, this was beautiful because this guy who had the idea for this, he's actually one of the people who was big on 6-to-5 blackjack. That was, I kind of trace it back to him being one of the proponents of it. At that time, that night, this was crazy because as I'm telling these guys this, the advantage, everything else, this guy says, no way, I've seen this work before. This is going to be good play. Yeah, man. And he kept his job. He did something completely stupid, and he kept his job. Cost him all kinds of money. And this is 101, folks. This isn't arcane knowledge that you've got to read 8 books to finally figure out. This is basic 101. Okay? And then right after that, well, not right after that, but what was it? It was 99, March of 99. There was another post, and this promo I hadn't heard about. I did after the fact. After I saw this, I called a friend of mine who worked for them and found out a little bit more. But they said, this is George C. Again, Black Chip, great games. 2-for-1 is no more. It's at Sunset. This is secondhand info from what I was told. The 2-for-1 ended last night. A couple of heavy hitters won about $80K. The pit snap and ended it. A number of dealers were upset as there were no dealer tokes from these big winners. And those are the big winners. I actually know one of those guys. I did some stuff with him later on. And it was interesting because my friend did tell me it was right around $80K that they lost. One night, no real putting this out there. It was kind of close. They didn't really promote it and publicize this. And again, they got pounded, and it really wasn't good for them. $80K in one night in a small joint. Hey, that's not a happy night, But again, and the dude, one of these guys, like I said, I knew him, and he wasn't even a card counter. He's, and again, when I talked to him about this, he said, yeah, basic strategy, flat bet. That was all there was to it. That simple, It's amazing. Basics, the basics. 101. Okay, number 5. 5-card auto win at the Horseshoe, Las Vegas. Okay, so this was in June of 99. This is right as the Binion's Horseshoe had changed ownership. Jack Binion had removed himself, went to run the Horseshoe casinos in the Midwest, which was a great success. This was not so much of a great success. One of the sisters had taken it over, Becky Beenan, and she had put her husband in charge, and they did this rule. Did this promo right off the bat. Okay, 5-card auto win, sometimes called 5-card Charlie, and basically I'll let them explain it. So this is the post from Blackjack that night. And Stanford Wong says, this just in from Tinker. I called the Horseshoe to verify it. I just arrived in Vegas last night and played BJ at the Horseshoe. I was told that on Monday they added a bonus. Any player getting 5 cards totaling 21 or less is an automatic winner. In a half-hour session, I had it once, and the table had it a total of 5 times. I do not know what it adds to the player's advantage, but at single deck it seems to be very valuable. The pit had no idea how long the promotion would last. And Wong adds, 5-card automatic win adds about 1.4% to your edge. And the info going out as a special issue on that day. And then at the very same time, he posted the strategy, the basic strategy for you to use on this. Okay, there it is, very simple. Had it out. I actually had this out as I was driving down there because I'd actually gotten off work, went home, booted up the computer, found this on there, got dressed again, got back in the truck, drove down to Binion's. I went down, I played, I had a good night because, again, when I got there, I seen a pro player getting out of a cab with a suitcase, checking in, telling the guy, take this up to my room, I'll be in the casino. Not even wasted any time, going right into the casino. When I went into the casino, I automatically saw 2 or 3 guys I knew right off the bat, being Art Fern and I'm not even sure his real name, and James Carey, both really well-known local players, excellent players, and they both had around 30 to 50K in front of them throughout the night, gradually going up. And you had Johnny Marai, he's the one I saw come out of a cab. Raymond Mathai was there, Yo Cristianto, Sri Soprato, and again, Steve Einbinder. The locals always hit these things up. And there was more people in and out of there over the next few days. Again, you're adding 1.4 to your edge. This is way too easy. It's just, you're going to get killed. And this is the one instance where you might have actually had a casino affected by Blackjack in this sense, because they lost so much money on this right off the bat. This went out, and again, they ended it in short order. They didn't keep that promo running long at all, and they still lost probably 7 figures on this. And they eventually ran into financial trouble and ended up having to sell. So you can see these things can have lasting effects. So again, don't change the rules unless you know what you're doing. Period. It's that simple. You've seen what these pros had to say about the people making these rule changes. It's very easy. If you run a straight, simple game, don't try and be tricky. Don't try and be fancy. Just do the basics. The standard status quo game from the 70s, 80s, and 90s made a lot of money, and it grew. It continued to grow throughout that whole period, from the 60s to around 2000. Blackjack grew every year, and then it didn't. They changed the rules right around there, but that's probably not what did it. All right, so we're wrapping this up. This is the end of Tales of the Pit. Good luck, good cards. Take it easy. Okay, so a quick review. The player advantage that were offered on these promotions are as follows. The Party at the Klondike and the free ride rule was a 1.4 player advantage. The early surrender at the Boardwalk in August of 97 was a 0.3 player advantage. The 2-to-1 promos at Hard Rock in 98, Sunset in 99, both of those come in at 2% player advantage. And in June of 99, the unbusted 5-card hand, 5-card Charlie at Binion's comes in at a 1.4. All right, so if you've come this far, I appreciate it. It means you actually watched what most people probably thought was the ending. And you may be asking why I'm doing this stuff. What I'm saying, obviously, I'm back in the business now. I've had a hiatus, if you will. Took about 6 years off, did a lot of mountain biking, some other stuff. And I thought about a lot of this stuff for a long time, and I read a lot. And the things that I read showed me that there might be some room for improvement simply by changing the way we view things and the way we think about things. Now, with our first episode, the Blackjack and the Big Lie, when I was talking about that, I mean, you know, like I said in the beginning, I know this stuff isn't going to affect many people. But those people who do see this and decide to go this route, if you get good people to tell you how to do it and abide by what they tell you, you will make more money. It's been proven again and again. But one of the things I want to really stress about this is the persistence of memory. Okay? Persistence of belief. Okay? You can tell people things a million times and they won't really believe you. Now, Blackjack from 1960 to around 2000 was the only beatable casino game, period. And it still holds that mystique 20 years after that was no longer true. Okay, it hasn't been true for a long time now. Yet people still think this. It's why Blackjack's still the number 2 game. More volume than Baccarat. Baccarat's got bigger numbers. But there's more people because this is still in their heads that Blackjack's the best bet. Blackjack's a game that can be beat. I know that. That's a good game. That's just if you play right, you can win. Right? It's a persistence of belief. People still believe it. But folks, we're getting to the point where we've taken and we've made the game not the same. It is not the same game we had 20, 30 years ago. And people are going to begin to figure that out. And I'd say it's going to be in the next 10 years, you're going to see this drop even more. If you do not change your ideas and look at ways to enhance this game and to push it forward, you're going to be looking at a dead revenue stream that in no way, shape, or form should be dead. And anyone who's in any position of authority and responsibility for revenues in a casino, is that it? You just say, oh, well, that'd be too hard to make money doing that. This is the game that drove casinos across the U.S. and North America, and ignore it at your peril. And, you know, it's going to be an issue as we go forward. As I said previously, who is going to take the place of your current high rollers? There aren't enough people who are going to be that invested in the game and enjoying and playing it because 6 to 5 is a 2% advantage and it takes your money out as fast as it can. There is no enjoyment there. There is no mystique of it being beatable. It just vacuums your money out of your pocket. It's like roulette. And again, remember, there's lots of folks who are not going to listen to me. Most. 98% are not going to listen to this. I know this because Bill Zender has talked about this. Nicholas Colon has talked about this. Max Rubin has talked about this. And every one of them has said the same thing. And now I'm saying it. Because at this point, we need to be looking at this. And again, if you are looking to make more money, if you're looking for a way to beat the larger casino chains, there it is. Be a specialist. I've been a specialist most of my career, and that's how I ended up here. And this is one of my specialties, blackjack and game protection. So if you're looking for it, the email is tbthvegas@gmail.com. My number is actually the same. If you know my number from the old days, it ain't changed, but I'm not going to be putting it out on the internet. So, so that's it for this episode, and there will be more coming. As I said, we're going to be naming 2 of the unknown blackjack authors. As to who I believe they are, I think I'm pretty correct. Maybe we'll find out. So good luck, good cards, enjoy the day.